When I die, I'ma go to Snow Bunny heaven. Snow Bunny heaven.
Make it stop. Make the hurt stop, please. Like.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
What's going on, people? What's going on? We are back once more into the breach because I can't sleep. This goddamn liberal white women is keeping me up at night. Hit that like button, guys.
Our neighbors are being disappeared. P.S. Without due process, it is just called kidnapping. Then show up and use your voice. Put your body on the line. Our neighbors are being disappeared. P.S. Without due process, it is just called kidnapping. Then show up and use your voice. Put your body on the line.
Right down that street, I murdered a fucking woman in cold blood. I murdered a woman in cold blood. The police department is closed. The police are fucking clueless. I asked them for, where is the murderer? ICE has them, because he's part of ICE. These are terrorists. If you are sitting on your ass at home, I'm disabled. I have neuropathy in every fucking inch of my body. And I'm out there protesting, in pain, shaking, can barely fucking walk, recovering from my own fucking trauma.
White women, are you guys okay? Really? Are you guys all right?
And you're on your ass? A woman was murdered and you're sitting on your ass. We need more protesters. Help. Fuck. They want to make this normal. They want to make this the new normal, and you're falling for it. You stupid fucks. It's not right or left. They did that to divide us. You dumb fucks, use your brain. Use your brain and research.
Everywhere you look in this country, if you see anything that is liberal, progressive, or otherwise woke, the majority of the people operating that system are going to be liberal white women.
Let's talk about George Floyd. You said George Floyd's death was a terrible thing.
Terrible.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. So are white people. More
Well,
white people, by the way. More white people.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
All right, you guys, I just watched the video of the woman in Minneapolis. Don't go watch it, okay? If you don't think you can handle it. It is the most frightening thing I have seen in a long time. This woman was driving away in her car and they put their weapon in there and hit her in the face.
I think this is a warning to the woke white women. The white men are not playing around anymore.
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
White guys are shooting white women in the face again. Smells like freedom in America.
All right, you guys, I just watched the video of the woman in Minneapolis. Don't go watch it, okay? If you don't think you can handle it. It is the most frightening thing I have seen in a long time. This woman was driving away in her car and they put their weapon in there and hit her in the face multiple times. This is not right. This was not self-defense. This was an execution. I am shocked because only a few weeks ago, I was driving around this town that I live in Charlotte, doing very similar things.
You in danger, girl. You are in danger. I have it on good authority that the white man has been unleashed.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Because only a few weeks ago, I was driving around this town that I live in Charlotte, doing very similar things, looking for ICE agents, trying to prevent them from kidnapping people off the street. And there was a lot of other people out there doing that on a daily basis, as is our right.
It is also your right to get shot. Anybody in America who wants to get shot by the police, they absolutely have that right, and I will not restrict it from you. Go be free. You get shot all the time, as many bullets as you want.
Take control. Take control of your city.
A lot of other people out there doing that on a daily basis, as is our right to drive around the streets of our city. It's frightening right now. Please be peaceful in your protests and don't give them any excuse, because it doesn't look like they need any right now. I cannot believe that they just took this woman's life, a US citizen, for no reason.
Nigga, please.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology.
Time has expired.
My life was threatened. Thank you.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
If you are a Muslim who is transphobic and homophobic, not only are you contributing to the mass killing of LGBTQ people, you are also contributing to the Muslim genocide by giving ammunition to Zionists and other Islamophobes, violently killing Muslims around the world, and allowing them to pinkwash our genocide by saying, hey, look, all Muslims are bad people because look what they would do to you in Gaza. Look what they would do to you in Muslim countries. And y'all could argue until your faces are blue in the comments about if it's haram or not. I literally don't care. You are meant to love people, respect, and show kindness to people. If your version of religion has...
The funny thing about woke white women, though, they'll even try to ruin Islam. I mean, technically, they're like equal opportunity destroyers, right? They will burn everything down. I would love to see Islam after woke white women are done with it.
To do with being a bigot that gets people killed, not hurting anyone, just being who they are. I don't want any part of it. And keep in mind that in the Quran 2 times it says, to me my religion and to you yours, and there is no compulsion in Islam. It's literally haram for you to impose your religion and your beliefs on other people. No one's asking you to be trans. At the same time, you are also pushing away people who are trans, who are gay, from becoming Muslim. Whether you like it or not, there are LGBTQ Muslims who are part of our ummah. They are just as Muslim as you are. And at the end of the day, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah.
I didn't know the ummah was gay. Get out of here. I had no idea the ummah was gay. Progressive ummah.
From becoming Muslim. Whether you like it or not, there are LGBTQ Muslims who are part of our ummah. They are just as Muslim as you are. And at the end of the day, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah. Allah is greatest, Allah knows best, and you need to humble yourself.
And the funny thing about like the woke white women, they are like all over the place, all sides of every progressive issue.
I'm going to be honest. I don't feel good about being white every day for a lot of reasons, because it's a point of privilege that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members of the community don't get the privilege to do. And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman. If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of an even greater privilege. I think we're missing an opportunity when kids have a moment to reflect about how the color of their skin does and does not allow them to move through the world. Running to them and trying to stifle that and trying to say you shouldn't feel bad. So we don't want to ever expose you to something that is going to make you have to pause and have maybe some internal feelings. It's a missed opportunity for some really good dialogue.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have. I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property.
This lady here works for Zoran Mamdani. Yeah, she works for Zoran Mamdani. I forget what type of position she holds, but she is like a part of his cabinet or something like that. And obviously she's not a fan of white people having houses and whatnot. I don't know what's wrong with white folk having houses, but I mean, I'm not a liberal white chick, so it's not really the same problem for me, dig, but you know. Shout out to the white women. And they're everywhere. Woke white women are like the heart and soul of the left.
So proud of what you've built here and what you're doing and using your voices and talking about important things and raising a little hell.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter Ellie said, if you watch these two ladies, they go off. And I said, I've seen them and I approve this message.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
So proud of what you've built here and what you're doing and using your voices and talking about important things and raising a little hell.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter Ellie said, if you watch these two ladies, they go off.
And it's crazy how these two ladies, these hags, have become like giant figures in the right and the left wing podcast world. Like these are the two new it girls. These are like the girls at the Mean Girls table now. And you know something that's really interesting about the woke white women? On the one hand, when it comes to like white guys and Christianity in particular, they have this, you know, the Handmaid's Tale. Like the Handmaid's Tale is literally like some type of uber Christian power fantasy written by a woman where all the chicks are like subjugated and they have to be covered and behaved and all that. And the thing is, like, if you hate that image for women, why do you love the image of Islamic women? Why do you put yourself in a Handmaid's Tale costume for Muslim women, but not for Christian men who actually tolerate your funky ass? Like, why would you do that?
Alaikum. My name's Peggy Flanagan. I am the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota, and I'm really honored and humbled to be here with all of you today. I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. I think about my friendship with Nimco. We've been friends for almost 25 years. And when I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota. So I want to just encourage the community to know that we're with you. We've got your back. I am here shopping today, and just encourage other folks to show up, support our Somali businesses, support our immigrant neighbors. And I know that things are scary right now. And just know that there are more people who are looking out for you. There are more people.
Now, I'm gonna say this one time because you know how it is. You know how it is, right? But I have a gut feeling that a lot of these woke white women are tribed up. Like I already did this one's early life check. That one that works for Mamdani, tribed up. A lot of the woke white women are in fact tribed up. It's an interesting phenomenon. Shout out to the tribed up woke white women.
Y'all voted in this Cheeto Puff McShit-stain clown car of a fucking administration because Kamala Harris laughed too much. She had joy. God forbid. She had word salad. They said, no, bitch, that's a cohesive, complete thought. She was coherent. She could speak in full sentences. I am sorry that it is above your education level. I don't know if you all can read past a 4th grade fucking level or if you ever played Are You Smarter Than a 5th grader, but I don't think you are. Look at the shit we were in. Pete Hegseth got on stage bouncing around like a drunk fucking frat boy, waiting for applause after his sexist and disgusting stupid comments. Dead silence. You know why? Because they're dealing with the top fucking leaders of the United States military, bitch. They're actually qualified, bitch. They know what the fuck they're doing, bitch. Pete Hegseth, you're doing the fucking gritty at a fucking baseball game because you are a bitch. This is the most embarrassing fucking timeline for the United States of fucking America. All because you were afraid of an educated black woman that laughed.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it, but I feel it. I feel it, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm too good for that. We're not gonna say that.
What is the bigger threat to America right now, American values, American life? Islamophobia or jihad?
I think we have to focus, quite frankly, on, if we're worried about the threat to American values, on the person who's in the White House. I mean, we have a
Oh,
president.
come on. Really?
No,
Is that
I'm
where we're
sorry.
going? Come on.
Yeah, I'm going there because we have a president who has complete.
Another one. That's the thing. A lot of these quote unquote woke white women are definitely in the tribe. It's crazy. You know, and one of the things that made me start down the line of this conversation, because there is a little bit of subterfuge happening. On the one hand, right? Think about this, right? Out of all the women in America, no other group of women votes Republican or right wing as much as white women, right? Black women, Latin women, Asian, any other non-white group of women are heavy, like 85 and up % support of the Democrat Party, right? It's only white women who actually do vote in large numbers for the right wing at all. Yet, how do we explain the phenomenon of woke white women? A lot of them are in the tribe.
Undermined our democracy, who has.
So you don't see jihad. You don't see this as a problem.
What I don't see is it as a single lens problem. We have a president who has been determined to undermine our constitutional principles, to degrade our democracy, to divide instead of unite us. The responsibility.
I have to say, Congressman, you know how much I admire you, and I always appreciate you being willing to come on and discuss things. But we booked you to talk about anti-Semitism and Islamophobia in America. So I'm asking the question
about Islamophobia.
No, those on the left right now, members of Congress. Okay, Bernie Sanders and AOC today. The normalization and acceptance of Islamophobia in politics is disgusting. Our Muslim neighbors are not Republican scapegoats for anti-Semitic attacks and Trump's failed policies. How Trump's policies laid. Hold on, Bernie Sanders. We must stand together and end anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all hate, no exceptions. Mamdani. 1 million Muslims live in New York City. We belong there, as does every other New Yorker. Vile Islamophobia from the councilwoman has no place in our city. What did the councilwoman say? We need to take very seriously the need to begin the expulsion of Muslims from Western nations. Again, Democrats do not seem all that concerned right now about the threat from jihad.
But I am saying that feminization has caused one specific particular problem, and that is wokeness. Like a lot of people, I was baffled by the woke phenomenon. Why did everyone seemingly go crazy all at once in the summer of 2020? It was inexplicable. It seemed to be mass hysteria, genuinely. And the more I thought about what caused it, which is a very important question because if we know what causes it, we know how to prevent it from happening in the future. I read an article that someone else wrote that put forward a really simple, elegant thesis, which is that wokeness is simply feminine patterns of behavior applied to institutions where women had not been very well represented until recently. Women tend to be more focused, consensus oriented. Men, when they're approaching a moral question, will ask, what are the facts? What are the rules? Whereas women will say, what are the relationships at play here? How can we make everybody happy? How can we reach an outcome that will satisfy all the parties? As opposed to the male perspective of how do we reach an outcome that is just and according to the rules. That sounded a lot like wokeness.
You know, actually, I think there's something else happening here. A lot of these woke white women have definitely chosen a side. They're not actually trying to make everybody happy. They specifically hate white men the most.
To me, and the sort of piece that made it all click into place for me was the coincidence of timing. It is the case, just we can all agree as a matter of fact, that a lot of institutions that went woke or were affected by wokeness became demographically female in the last 5 years. Law schools in America turned majority female in 2016, and they've gotten a little bit more female every year since then. I think now it stands at 55, 56%. The New York Times became majority female in its workforce in 2018, which is maybe why it was so susceptible to the fads of wokeness and the internal policing and the Slack revolts that took place internally over there. Medical schools are now majority female. The white collar workforce overall, employees in the United States with college degrees, a majority of them are women.
So everywhere except the blue collar workplace is pretty much dominated by the female spirit, if not, numerically outnumbered by women. Are the men ever going to fight back? Jesus, this is crazy.
And management positions in the US workforce, 46% female, so almost majority female. So the fact that all of these institutions tipped over to being majority female around the same time that wokeness emerged seemed to me that couldn't possibly be a coincidence. And one of the most consistent psychological differences between men and women is women have a strong impulse of caring, right? Which is exactly, I'm not somebody who looks to evolutionary biology for the solutions to all human phenomena, but this particular one does seem glaringly Darwinian, right? That
I think as strong as the caring impulse may be that she's referring to, and I don't dispute it at all, but I think high highs also equal low lows, right? As much as they have an impulse to care, they also have an impulse to hate. And I think their capacity to love is equal and opposite to their capacity to hate.
women see helpless things and they want to take care of them. That is definitely something that Darwin would find a pretty easy explanation for. But that's also something that wokeness can easily weaponize. It means that if you can frame your political issue as a way of caring for some helpless class, then you're golden, right?
Minorities are babies.
That's right. But that is precisely what's going on at a deeper level. And that's why it's been so effective.
Minorities are babies. And this is the thing, right? So if the minorities are the babies who need to be protected, and that's who you put all your care into, the people they need to be protected from will be the people that you put all your hate into, which is, again, the straight white man. And so they only hide their, quote, care as they use their care as a mask for their hate.
But I am saying that feminization has caused one particular problem, and that is wokeness. Like a lot of people, I was baffled by the woke phenomenon. Why did everyone seemingly go crazy all at once in the summer of 2020?
Hold on, wrong clip. one of the problems with the female-led world, as we've been talking about, you know, the matriarchy and whatnot, one of the problems that you run into is that men typically do care about women in ways that women have a hard time reciprocating. And so what winds up happening is that you really can't have a world where women are just in charge and things go well for the men. And especially when it comes to basic things like simple truth telling. Because I think men are a lot more comfortable with the uncomfortable truth than a lot of women are. And that leads to what we call right now, you know, the censorship and the canceling and all that. That's the female. You can't say that about minorities, yada, yada, yada.
Truth has become a right-wing concept. You cannot say it, because if you say it, you are considered right-wing. And to be right-wing is to be in league with the forces of evil. It is a Manichaean division between ideologies of one kind or another and those who don't subscribe to those ideologies. And the ideologies brook no dissent because they represent, in the minds of people who promote them, they represent goodness, brotherhood of man, progress, reason, education. And anyone who opposes them is against all good things. So they are not just wrong, they're not people to be argued with.
And what she's describing right now is also a very feminine way of debating and relating to people in dialogue. You know, quite often when you have, if you noticed a lot of times on panels, you know, you have a criticism of something that a woman says, and it's objectively about the thing that she's talking about, but it will be taken from her as a personal attack against her individual human identity. And then it goes in that direction as opposed to sticking to the facts. And this is just what she's describing. It's almost that same phenomenon where it's like you're not even dealing with objective reality anymore. You're dealing with just basic coded language because, you know, a person's feeling a certain way. And now that feeling gets things labeled a particular thing. And now everything starts to follow particular patterns that have been already prescribed.
They're people to be removed and silenced because otherwise you're against all good things. So it's that division between good and evil. And unfortunately, you know, if you stand up against an ideology like I don't know, so-called anti-racism, which basically says all white people are bad.
Critical theory.
Or critical theory. Or you stand up and say a woman is defined by her biology. So you're against transgender. So, as you know, there's no discussion. You are cancelled. You are removed. You have to be silenced. This dissent cannot be permitted. So we're in what a thinker of a previous age called cultural totalitarianism. No alternative is to be permitted. Now, first of all, that is an assault on individual freedom of expression and freedom, but it's also a complete repudiation of reason. Because if you say there is nothing that you can say that can dissent from my ideology, and you say you're bringing evidence to oppose me, well, that cannot be the case.
You know, the irony of this moment right here, and it's something I was pointing out earlier, talking about the voting patterns and all. Again, as much as we're criticizing woke white women for all their excesses and overexpenditures rather, I think again it's really only woke, I mean, it's only white women who can actually be a check against all the other women. Because one of the things I was going to kind of bring up next is that it's actually woke white women who give all the other woke women cover. But Bandy, you were trying to jump in there. What's going on, bro?
I was going to say,
I'm just curious when the day, like, Latino women are gonna take over because they're the more conservative ones. Like, there's gonna be a point when people are
no.
gonna push back from saying, you know what, I'm not dealing with this anymore. You had your time, let's move on.
Bandit, it's a bit of a misnomer. Politically, the Latino world is very liberal and left wing, politically speaking. They may cook and clean for their husbands at home. That's a domestic conservatism, but it's not the right wing national conservatism that we're really banking on. So I wouldn't lean too hard in that direction if I were you. Why do you think much of South America is left leaning? Why do you think we've been fighting Sandinistas and whatnot in the Southern Hemisphere all this time?
Why? I mean, personally, I think it's just because they like communism, but and they never every
Well,
single
it is, isn't it?
yeah, and they never had the chance because most of the time these people are poor and they just want to get something out of it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just sick of the white woman stereotype. Like it's just getting old. Like I'm done with it.
Like I said, it's a little bit overblown because again, the only women that really wrote reliably right wing are also white women.
True, but I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like you could raise, and this is personal, but like you can raise them conservative as best you can, but once they go in the real world, it's like you still got like 70% chance they're not going to be conservative.
I could have sworn you were about to say once they go black.
No, I wasn't going there. You were hoping. I bet you were hoping I would go that route. But I'm just saying in general, it's like you can do the best you can, but at the end of the day, the deck's stacked against them. Like college is gonna corrupt them, society's gonna corrupt them, their friends are gonna corrupt them. They don't really, like it's real tough.
On that note, let me say this one last thing, and I'm gonna kick it over to Lord ADS real quick. And I've spoken on this at length. I've done an entire little monologue about this on a previous stream, but fathers don't really enjoy the process of watching their daughters become modern women.
No, I agree.
It's not joyful. There was a thing the other day with Grant Cardone. He had his daughter on stage, and I mean, she wasn't really dressed poorly, but the skirt was a little bit too short, but that's not even the point. Some idiot in the crowd yells out, "Marry me," right? And it's probably some 40-year-old fat guy, and she's like a 15-year-old girl, so way across the line.
Yeah.
And then Grant Cardone, he's on stage like, "Oh, I'll find you and I'll kill you." Which, that's the type of shit a father would say, but that's what you get for putting your fucking daughter on the stage, dude.
Agreed. I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's tough. Like, boys, it's so much easier. Because you can really see that conservative values is like their only chance in hell of getting anything they want. So it's pretty obvious. Like, if you go to liberal route, you're basically going to life through misery. But women, it's the opposite. They're like rewarded to do everything horrible, and then eventually it bites them in the ass, and then you're basically gonna have to like pat them on the back. You shouldn't have done that. I warned you. You know what I mean? Like it's the same bullshit. Like you could do everything to prevent it, but they got to learn it the hard way.
What's going on, ADS, man? Welcome to the show.
It's just frustrating. That's all. I'm just venting.
What up, Hood Servative? Happy New Year, brother.
Thank
Brother
you.
Bandit, what's up?
What's going on? How you doing?
Socrates, what's going on? Nothing much,
Yo, what's
brother.
up, what's up,
Nice to
what's
meet y'all. I'm just keeping it real, man. This is a waste of white women. I am fucking sick of this bullshit.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Stupidest, craziest, dumbest shit I have ever fucking heard. And they just be rampant. The pandemic messed up a lot of people's heads, right? But it seems like it really messed up a lot of these woke ass white women's heads. I mean, even today, right? You know what I'm saying? This woman has her husband dies in 2023, but she has children. She's out there fucking protesting for Ethiopians who don't give a shit about her. Get shot over it, and then we're all supposed to cry. And I'm reading some of the liberal blogs. A child orphan? No. Her ass should have been out there. Her number one priority was protect her child, not to protect a bunch of people she didn't know. And yet, that's the news line. Child orphan, woman killed. Like, I think the day of unconditional white woman protection is really coming to an end.
Well,
And
it
I
comes to an end for all women at the same time because, like I was saying, white women are sort of the sword and the shield of it. Like, once you stop doing that, all the other women lose their cover too.
I think you guys are missing something. Like, this is the problem with like women that don't have children. Okay, they suffer the same thing guys.
please call them their proper name, Bandit. Cat ladies.
Okay, cat women. Well, I like to call, box wine and cat ladies. The problem is legacy. Just like men, like if men need to live a legacy, we know how to do it. We can do it with children. We can do it with a business. We can do it. But women have one thing to leave a legacy, and that's children. And once they hit 50, they go, "Shit, I didn't do that, so now I gotta do this with activism or something like that." That's the problem. You're dealing with people that are trying to be like in their 20s again, and they don't know how to deal with it.
I think those
overcorrect. I think. Go ahead.
Real quick. I want to kind of tie those 2 points you both just made together and kind of refute them a little bit. In that, it's deeper than just a pandemic, and I think the legacy thing is a little bit of a secondary, like, byproduct, not a driver in the way I think you're kind of describing it, because one of the first clips I played was like an actual like elected official saying that you should go out there and put your bodies on the line for the immigrants and whatnot. Go defend ICE with your bodies on the line. And the next video I played was, oh my God, they just shot a woman who was defending the immigrants with her body. And that's coming from an elected official. And before these women even get to vote, they go through the school system. And it's coming out of years and years of going through not only public education, but then a lot of these the wokest white women are almost all college graduates. And so they go through like this culture of indoctrination and pressure where, like, now to talk about the legacy thing, they have rejected the idea of legacy on the whole before they even had a child. And so now having a child becomes less of a priority if they ever have one. And so now you start to get the knock-on effects with less marriage, less the lower birth rate, as they call it.
Well, the desire's still there, Hood. They just they don't know like what it is, so they try to replace it with other things, like being a dog mom, having all the cats, all that stuff.
Caring about minorities is the equivalent of being a dog mom.
Yep. But they do it like in a weird backhanded way too.
Because this is overcompensating and overcorrect once again in society, right? Women didn't have rights, but instead of giving them the pieces gradually in their movement, they gave it to them all at once. Biden gave it to them all at once. Gave it to them the best they could, at least. Right? Nobody was going to vote for Kamala Harris. She was at 13%. She shouldn't even been on a ticket at all. But yet, here she is in the White House, overcorrect. You know what I'm saying? Falling into getting bullied by women, right? We're not going to vote for you. So what? I mean, so now what happens is that it's like almost like a child. When you give a child too much too quick, and then you try to take it back, you get all types of backlash, bullshit, whining and crying, all types of kicking and screaming, right? For nothing. You shouldn't have had this in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
A bunch of them.
Real quick. I want to get Black Socrates in there, and then I want to finish the clip before we finish talking. Socrates, you got it.
Yeah. How everyone doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
All right. Cool. Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with COVID per se, or Kamala, or even like necessarily females having freedom per se. It has to do with the thorough core of leftist ideology, which requires useful idiots, people to not understand what leftism actually is, and then they put their bodies and their lives on the line to push an agenda like a cult, in which they don't actually know what the real agenda is, which is for people in charge of the party or in charge of the bureaucracy to have power.
Okay.
I'm gonna finish this clip.
Keep going. You on something, man?
Yeah. If that was you, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens with these women is that if you look at leftism thoroughly, it's meant to destroy your life. It's meant to make you a degenerate, ridiculous, absurd, mentally unstable. Mario Emilio talks about it, and other leftist writers actually talk about it. They call it being a revolutionary, but really, you only be a revolutionary when your life sucks. If your life is going good, why would you overthrow the system? So your life has to suck in order for you to become a revolutionary. So therefore, by going through the college system and public school system and getting indoctrinated with leftist ideology, they become mentally unstable, incapable, disempowered people who are filled with manic ideas. And these are the perfect people for you to use for stupid things like block traffic. If I have a truck, if I take my truck and just decided to go into a police officer and block them, what do you think is going to happen to them? Would anyone be surprised if I get shot?
No, you getting ran over, man.
No. If I block them with my truck, I see my pickup truck, I block them. Right? What do you think is going to happen 10 out of 10 times? If I was to do that,
they're not going to waste a bullet on you, man.
Going to be shot 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times.
No, they're not going to waste a bullet on you. They'll just run you over.
They're not going to run to. I have a big pickup truck, so they're not going to run to a truck. They're going to shoot me if I block them. If I park my car in front of them, they're gonna shoot me.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you were on foot, like because I be seeing a lot of their videos too.
No, if early on in the conversation, yeah.
If I take my truck and block them, right? They're not gonna have any qualms with shooting me. So why would we be surprised that they shot this lady? I don't understand the controversy. Besides that she's a white woman, and she's a woman, so it should be, oh no, she's a lady.
Well, that's what it is. That's what it is right there. Like, oh, she's a female. Be like,
I get it.
Like, regardless of the bad behavior, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, she done pistol whipped the dude, but she's still a female. I'm like, what the hell that got to do with anything?
I'm going to get to the end of this clip, and we're going to come back to the conversation.
If you're denying evidence and reality and thinking and engagement with an idea, then you're denying reason itself. And so the irony is that in an age of supposed reason, we're so rational that we've dispensed with religion. Only idiots have any kind of religious sense because it's not based on reason. That's the thinking. So we're so rational, we've got rid of religion, and yet we are repudiating rationality completely. This is something that doesn't quite add up. So I would say that we are in a new age of unreason. That's what we're in, an age of unreason. That's what we've unleashed. And it's an irony because we've done it under the aegis of being rational. But in getting rid of religion, we have unleashed an age of unreason. And what follows from that is the erosion of freedom to think, freedom to speak, freedom to act, and a complete confusion about where the limit should be drawn between what I want and what others need.
Yeah, hello? Yeah, hello?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, she's right and she's wrong. So she's right in the sense that it is an age of unreason. That is true. But it's not just because they have this dedication to rationality or they gave up religion. And I don't like to even have this conversation because it gets very technical and it requires a lot of understanding. Basically, start with Hegel, okay? This is why it's so ridiculous. I'm going all the way back to Hegel. They've basically created a myth, a world building myth, kind of like Lord of the Rings. We're actually in a Lord of the Rings type of situation. What do you mean by that? A lot of leftist thinkers in the past 18th century created a hypothesis that what if the entire world was based on this idea that there's a spirit or a universal reality that's trying to move toward a certain direction. That's what they believe. Now, based on that, the means justify the end. To reach utopia, which is the end goal, we have to collectivize society. Now, once they understood this process, they've inverted all reality, meaning that up is now down, left is right. Traditional morality is now immoral. Morality is now morality. Women are empowered even though they're manic and depressive and irrational and weak. Men are the problem, even though they're stabilizers, workers, and builders of society. Everything's inverted. And the reason why it's hard to see is because it's so ridiculous for this to happen. It's so unbelievable. that we're actually in a society where reason, logic, 2 + 2 = 4 is now absurd, is now ridiculous. That's how bad it is. And to get out of it, like to escape the matrix, requires a complete rebooting of the mind to realize that whatever these people say is completely incorrect. So far, like even if you try to work within it, you're still wrong. That's how bad it is. And so a lot of these people, because they've been trained in the university system, when they try to decouple it, try to say, oh, women are being, just evolutionary, caregiving, that's why. No, it's not that. Your whole entire paradigm is wrong. The way you think. And they don't even know how to think. It's a dual mind situation. They don't even know that they bought into this ideology and that's what they're doing. They don't even know it. That's the unfortunate part.
It's based on the feelings, though. That's why you can't go to rational with these people. And they've been they've been trained. Huh?
Where do feelings come from? Are feelings just spontaneous or are feelings undergirded by something?
No, but they
entitlement, Socrates. It's developed by entitlement.
Yes, and they never learn how to regulate their emotions and then actually go through life and do the whole reason rationale thing to regulate their emotions. So it's going to be everything, my feelings over everything.
Yeah, I get that.
Anything else.
But where do they get their feelings from? Do you think everyone has the same feelings?
Feelings are either learned or they're biological.
No,
I mean,
this is
Yes.
definitely learned.
inherit feelings or learn behavior. There's the only two.
Okay, so now are they behaving from a biological way or is it learned? Is it biological for a mother to forsake her children and take her car and try to attack ICE?
Depends if they have a mental imbalance or not. It depends on
It's illogical.
Other things.
It's progressive feminist programming over time that somehow overridden, even their natural instincts to the point where they can make rational decisions, right?
Yeah, and don't forget too that a lot of these people that tend to gravitate to one side or the other are a little bit more predisposed to lean one way or the other.
That's true.
It's kind of like with black people, right? When they vote Democrat and they feel like they're entitled to certain things that they're really not, right? Because society has allowed us to get away with them for years and years and years and years, you know what I'm saying? To the point where it got fed up with it and voted in another set of extremists, which were the MAGA people, right? That's them just saying, we're tired of trying to give you free stuff. They even brought in these other groups to replace black people, the Latinos, they brought in the Indians, they brought in Ethiopians, even though those people are failing, especially when it comes to genography, right? Let's just keep it real. Their gene set isn't the same as ours. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sports athletes, you see even our women mixing in with those people, right? And their kids are turning out to be shit. So it's very, 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 very niche to me, you know what I'm saying, how they perceive things in society. But what it's ultimately done is I think it's ruining us. And if it hasn't already ruined us to the point where we're going to end up like Japan over here, right? Japan's got 500 empty towns in it because they're not repopulated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
The biggest issue though is the leisure time, because in countries and in places in the world where you have to actually spend the majority of your time for survival, like trying to find calories or water, they don't have these problems.
No, it's the curse of the first world country. Everybody,
of course,
gets to live, saying a certain life and a certain standard to the point where they tend to start to build things outside of that because they're not content with just having, saying rational stuff like running water, food. You know what I'm saying? There's no shortage of food. There's no shortage of running water here. There's no shortage of housing. There's really no shortage of anything here in America, right? Even if you can't afford it, we'll give a certain amount of that to you.
Well, there's a shortage of religion.
But shortage of shared values. So like we go back in the 50s, everybody knew what an American stand for. You had patriotism, you had a monoculture, everything was there. Everything has been so fractured that what is a U.S. citizen? I'm dead serious. What bond do I have with the average citizen? You can't give me a average American, because the average American doesn't exist, because there is no set values of what an American is.
Correct.
Problem. It's a major problem.
We
know what a Japanese person is. We know their culture. We know they have a culture. They have rules. They have etiquette. We know what they are.
I mean,
we know what a Russian is. We know what I mean, do we know what a Brit?
No,
Britain
actually,
is? No, we don't.
th-
We
there,
don't know.
there is something that an American is.
Yeah,
It's just
there is
that
an answer to that.
Americans no longer know what it is. So this is what it is. America was founded by WASP, okay, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Now, the reason why it's WASP is because first they originate from this place, and also their mindset of how they believe. Things like self-governance, personal sovereignty, independence, freedom, ruled by consciousness, Protestant ethic, which is work hard, debate, reason things out, fair play, tough upper lip, sobriety, frugality, etc., and distrust of government or hierarchies. That's why they like the Catholic Church or high church or centralized government.
That
So,
whole white culture chart from the Black History Museum.
yeah, basically, right? And so what happened is as America started, I don't know what happened really. After I think the first wave of
Mass
immigrants.
immigration, brother. Mass
Yeah,
immigration.
Pandemic messed up
after
a
the
lot
first,
of people's
yeah,
heads.
after the first wave, after the first wave of immigration, there was this thing where they didn't want to acculturate or force assimilation on people. So they started saying that being American was just being a citizen, which was never the case. And it's also bad for immigrants to be told this because obviously your ability to succeed within a society is based on your ability to integrate to that society. If I'm in China and I don't speak Chinese, I don't understand Chinese customs, and I'm trying to thrive in China, how can I do so without assimilating? How can I do so? If I'm offending them unwittingly, I'm doing things against their culture, and I'm doing things that they don't like, and I'm marketing to them and it's offending them, and I'm not succeeding, I get marginalized.
You know,
so in a sense, you are. Go ahead.
Here's another point in that, right? You can let's take China right now. They have an immigration problem like a lot of Europe and America has, right? And the problem will become readily apparent when you put it. It's like impolite to talk about it when it's like Europeans and Muslims or whatever, because people are woke, right? But if I tell you that an Indian can never be a Japanese, you won't flinch. And that's kind of another issue that we're having. So like when you got back to the original founding stock of America, which was the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, the Indians can never be a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Nor can the Somalis, bro.
It's funny
Well,
you said that.
I'll say yes and no, right? So there's two ways to look at it, right? There is a genetic component because obviously certain people create certain societies because there's certain dispositions, certain mindsets, certain predilections. That is true. But there's also a culturation mindset in the sense that if I go to a certain society and fully enculturate my family and fully enculturate, we might not be genetically that people, but if we completely buy in, we're culturally the same. That's why if you have certain people who go to Japan and completely buy into Japan and marry a Japanese woman and raise their kids Japanese and just everything is Japanese, children within several generations will be Japanese. That's why I don't. Go ahead.
Here's what I wanted to tie that thread into.
Sure.
So you got a video?
White people either. However, we are born into this culture. We have no other culture that we're born into. We have no other options but these options. And so we now have to adopt the ways of the white Americans, Southern, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And
you dropped out like the first 10 seconds or whatever you said.
Okay, no, I was saying, we had Black America had to kind of adopt the culture of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants because that was the real prevailing culture of America up until that point. And then this is when it comes to around. There was a giant wave of immigration that happened right around I guess the First World War. A lot of Eastern Europeans come over here to Europe and to America, whatever. And then a lot of these communist socialist ideas start to hit the American shores and hit Black folk. And that began the kind of separation from Black folk from that general shared white Anglo-Saxon culture.
It's funny you mentioned that, man, for two reasons. Like one, Chad O. Jackson is having a debate over MLK and the whole subversion thing. And then he's reviewing that right now that he had a couple days ago. And then two, because like the rejection of what Vivek Ramaswamy or whatever was trying to push about basically America is just whatever. And nobody has blood and soil basically.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And they bullied him off of social media.
Yeah, I heard. The issue with what Vivek Ramaswamy is saying is that you can have citizenship, like you become American by citizenship, quote unquote, but that doesn't necessarily confer to you the mindset and the perspective, or point of view, or values that undergird the Constitution. The Constitution is not intuitive or implicit. Like, people can't look at the Constitution and says, "Oh man, it makes sense that the First Amendment is freedom of speech." Now, the unfortunate thing is that the people who created the Constitution thought that way. They thought, because of their culture and the way they did their mindset, that it's obvious that everything is obvious. The First Amendment is obvious. The Second Amendment is obvious. Freedom of speech is obvious. Liberty is obvious. This is obvious. This is self-evident. Like, you don't have to. Any sane person will come to conclusions.
Well, they were a homogenous group, aren't they?
But yes, but that's not the only issue. A lot of groups are homogenous, but they don't have this universalist thought process where they think they figured out the truths of the universe.
I disagree.
Gentlemen, we're so far past that shit now. We're talking about modern age, what's going on right now in America. If you're born in America, you're American. That's how I've always seen it. But you have to go by American rules, American regulations, and American culture. Black culture is a subculture of American culture. It's all it is.
ADS. Now, everything you just said, why do we have this problem with Somalis having this giant culture of feeding off of America? It's like a cultural thing for them.
Progressives again. That's progressive.
No, we're talking about Somalis, not progressives in America.
No. It's all tied in.
But, okay, how do you see them as being American? Is what I'm saying. If that's their culture that they're locked into, their culture is essentially oppositional to American. How can it be American?
Yes, they're born here, but they do not give a S about here. So, like, how do you are able to share a country with somebody that actually bears loyalty to a country they weren't even born into? In some cases, never even visited.
Not only a country, but an entire oppositional culture.
Well, the other thing is, like, we have to come to terms of, like, what do we actually want to be, and what people do we want to represent as us? Like, do we want to be known for Somalis right now? Like, your videos that you had today, like, about all this, like, fraud fatigue. Like, we're strong that we just took out this president in freaking 2 hours. In, like, an episode of Friends, we just took out a dictator. But on the flip side, we have $9 billion of fraud by Somalis with what was their average IQ? 75?
65, I believe.
Yeah. So, like, how do you have this such juxtaposition of, like, we can do all this awesome stuff, but yet we have $9 billion worth of fraud? Like,
well, I mean, it's allowed. It's allowed. Like,
it makes us look like a laughing stock, and it makes and that's what I'm saying. Like, we're willing to let these groups of people in, but anybody that has an education, anybody that should be here, and the people that we're supposed to promote, the citizens that have been here, don't get promoted. So,
yeah, but we know this is all by design, though. It's the demoralization technique, and people that don't want to see the country prosper or whatever are trying
It's just a progressive scheme to stay in power. But
what's the reason for the power, though? It's to destroy the system that's in place.
Feminization and globalization. Gentrification, globalization, and feminization. That's what progressives stand for.
Yeah,
and now, this is part of that globalization process where they invite people in from other countries who shouldn't be here in order to stock their bulk. That's all this really is.
Yeah, but ultimately, what are they trying to do? They're trying to say, okay, it's your turn now. So I have to stack the deck to make it your turn. Like when it comes to other countries and other peoples. You know what I'm saying?
I want to take a minute here. I got to give a big shout out to Hammerhand. Dropping a big bag on the show tonight. Thank you so much for the support. Sometimes you don't even know when the big dogs are watching. I appreciate you coming through. Big support from Hammerhand, y'all. We got to drop the Ric Flair on him.
It costs a lot of money to bring the real. And with this, I dress myself in cashmere. I dress myself in $100 Cleveland flags. I dress myself in alligator shoes. I wear a $15,000 world champion on location. Only an Ivy and Ricky. We do it better than everybody else. Don't wrap me up. No.
Big
Now,
shout
that
out
was
to
dope.
Hammerhand, y'all.
That was dope. Where'd you get that at?
From Ric Flair, nigga.
Yeah, he posted that. He posted that what, last week.
Straight up from Ric Flair, man. Ric Flair stealing shit, bro.
Hey, look, man. Like always better than Hogan, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, brother. I grew up on the Hulkster. You know what I'm saying? Him,
Hey, but
Macho Man, NWO, brother. Come on, New World
I'm
Order, brother.
I'm saying, man. Hulk Hogan talking about eating vegetables, man. I don't know if he ate a vegetable, man. Ric Flair was always real, man. Talking about like, hey, look, I got these clothes, I got these cars, I got these
I
women.
got these hoes.
Well, you know, it's so funny, right? That's one of the reasons why I like that clip. And there's another point I bring up too. And it's we're talking about this American identity thing. And it's all right. So it started out talking about white women. And in my mind, as we shifted toward this identity thing, it occurred to me that men really need to have the bigger voice in what the American identity is, because ultimately it's the men who got to die for this shit anyway. But when I was a kid, right? Well, first of all, like I was saying, the men have to do that, and we were talking about this identity thing, and I started tying the black identity under the whole white what was it? White Anglo-Saxon Protestant thing, like the WASP culture, because that was basically American culture, right? And so black and white in America more or less have a more shared identity than anyone outside of these borders. So when it comes to that identity, when I play that Ric Flair drop, almost everybody in here knows exactly that time in their life, that era in their life, right? Everybody remembers it. Even if you weren't a wrestling fan, you remember what it was in that moment. And when I was young, America was like, what, still 85% white, as opposed to what's it now, like 60 and dropping?
Yeah, it's like I thought it was like 58 now. Like it's
I was at
Right.
63. I thought y'all were at 63 or something like
And
that.
so what happens is, like, when you get, especially the women, and we kind of low-key tie this to women voting as well, but when you get all these women voting, not only for liberal policies like for welfare and a welfare state or whatever, but then they vote for immigration, which is, it turns into like a shit test. Like, women voting for all this open border stuff is like your girlfriend flirting with the guy across the street. It's like, what are you going to do about it now? It's a giant shit test. It really is a giant shit test. It's like, so are you going to let your American identity disappear? And now we have to eat halal falafel sandwiches and pray 5 times a day because, you know, you failed the gigantic universal shit test? This is what's in front of us right now. It's ironic, but, you know, none of your leaders will talk about it in those terms. But I definitely see that problem.
Hey, Hood, there's a clip going around, man, where Steven Crowder's talking to Jillian Michaels again. And man, you can see the gears turning, and he's talking to her, like, you know, asking her questions, and he's like, "You sound like a feminist."
well, she is, and the
Well, I mean,
that interview.
But she doesn't know that she is, though. That's the problem.
No, she
oh,
does.
I think she does.
She was a leftist, and then
Wait.
she pandered, and then she became a chameleon, and then started saying, "Oh, the right side's making money, so now I'm going to come up as a conservative." No, she's always been a liberal. So this is the chameleon bullshit that I'm
No, I mean, I know that, but I think she's confused because, like, you know, when you actually like do things in society, case in point, one of her biggest hills that she was like on, and she was for real with, right, is the whole sporting thing because, you know, with the fitness and all that. And then biological men and women's sports was like a non-starter for her because, you know, I think she did some competition stuff, whatever, back in the day or whatever. And then she was like a physical trainer. So there's some realities that you actually deal with there. Hey, you got to lose the weight. Like you can't sit up here and say, oh, every size is beautiful. Every size is healthy. That's bull. We all know this.
Don't Jillian Michaels have a liquor license?
I don't know. She could. I don't know.
Yeah, the problem with people like Jillian Michaels is that she actually doesn't know what she believes. She thinks she knows what she believes, but she doesn't know what she believes.
Actually, that's probably the most correct thing right there.
Right? So she thinks that she believes in competition. But if you're a leftist, you don't believe in competition, because competition creates hierarchies. Hierarchy creates inequality. Inequality creates oppression. She doesn't know what she's talking about,
Well, that's
unfortunately.
kind of like this large group of people out here in Minnesota or Minneapolis tonight, and everybody's out in the street protesting because of the lady got herself shot today. And it's like they don't actually understand what they believe.
Nope. If you ask them, you ask them, hold on, they look crazy about it. So I'm working on a project. So right now I'm working on a personal project called the Leftist Lexicon. And the reason I'm doing this project is because I'm convinced that even people on the right and people on the left don't actually know what leftists believe. Leftists don't even know what they believe. And it's hard to.
I mean, the only question I got is,
anti-right.
where is ICE at? I mean, right now, this has been a group of black people. You had police presence all around. Where is the police presence? Where is ICE at in this situation? You know
No,
what I'm saying?
Jacob Frey literally pulled them back, though. He pulled all the cops back. That was a command right from the top.
Yeah, because he knows what the deal is, man. It's a powder keg right now, and it's just waiting for one incident or whatever to jump this
Absolutely.
thing off.
That's the point. That's the point, that they want that one incident so they can frame it and use it as a narrative to push their moral authority. And again, so if you ask most leftists there or most people there who are protesting why they're protesting, they won't be able to give you a coherent answer because they don't know they don't know why for themselves. All they know is that this is the feeling, this is the vibe, this is what other people are doing, this is what I was told to do, and that's why I'm doing it. Now, if you dig,
And it's such a damn shame. She's so pretty.
You got to be.
They're calling her George Floyd now. They're calling her George
wow.
Floyd.
A beautiful
Yo.
woman like this. I hate
They
it.
need a female Floyd, bro. That's George Floyd. George Floyd.
Why is Minneapolis, why is Minneapolis the 2026 version of Selma right now? I mean, all this stuff that I'm dead serious. Not Ben. Is it Ben or Socrates that's live? I'm dead serious, bro. They literally made Minneapolis into Selma, bro. I mean, look at the schematics. I mean, with the George Floyd situation. A lot of people didn't even know Minneapolis was a place except for Prince and the time, bro. Now you got all these civil rights and liberal legislation and stuff coming out of Minneapolis, and they're the most liberal people of any part of the country, bro.
I mean, the Karens, man. The Karens flock there, man.
Nah, the reason why is because of money and power. So when you want to get power, this is why people you understand something about leftism. Leftism is a power play because you only can get power through several ways. You can get power fairly through competition and competence, but that requires ability and merit and skill and hard work. Or you can get power through subterfuge, deception, and manipulation. Therefore, they go that way. Now, since I want to get power through subterfuge, deception, and manipulation, I need other people to do the work. Because obviously you can't actually make anything by subterfuge, deception, and manipulation. So how can we get the rest of the country to give us money? We have to create a need. So how do you create a need? Well, we have migrants, we have the poor, we have single mothers, we have blah, 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 blah. We have a crisis. So now that we have a crisis, we need to create a program to address this crisis. They create programs to address the crisis. Now, I think they didn't expect the Somalians to abuse it to this extent. They knew they were going to abuse it, but not to this extent because it's kind of outrageous. It's like,
there are no gatekeepers though. Like that's a misconception.
Let me hold on.
Yes.
Let me kind of parse this out because I think the Somali issue is a secondary issue. And again, they probably didn't even see this coming like 30 years ago when there were no Somalians or whatever, right? But one, I think it's like the issues that you mentioned is sort of a feedback loop because these are all depending on you're responding empathetically to these causes, single moms, immigrants, poverty, whatnot. You have to have empathy for that. And I think when you're talking about like corruption and whatnot, especially political corruption, this is one of the reasons why was it I want to say, was it not Wells? Who wrote Brave New World? Might have been
Huxley.
I think it was him who wrote oh no, not even no, it wasn't even from Brave New World. It was from that other one where they made the movie of I forget what that one where they put the rat in that guy's stomach and they were torturing him with the rat, and the one where they were telling him say it's 5 when it's really 4.
1984. 1984.
Orwell. It was Orwell. Orwell said it was mostly the women who are like the most fervent, loyal supporters of the party. And I think also that there is a susceptibility, there is a corruptibility in women, and that because men are corruptible as well. Let me not act as if we're all pure and made of light either, but
only when it comes to power, Hood, men are corruptible only when it comes to the attainment of power.
Well, no, not just that. You know, men are corruptible for coochie and honey.
Yeah,
buns.
lust, brother, greed, all that good
Yeah.
stuff, man.
No, I'm just saying.
All right, y'all want to go through the 7 deadly sins now? I mean, all right.
No, hold on. Don't knock me off. Don't knock me off. I was just trying to make the point that I think with women, and especially in the modern age, women are particularly corruptible in this way. Women have a hard time standing up against the grain. When it's like, you know, one person fighting for justice or whatever, I think a lot of times it requires a male in those roles, because women are more likely to go with the grain, even when the grain is horrible and evil, even when the grain is sacrificing your unborn, you know, even when the grain is allowing all of these foreigners to invade your country. Women are more likely to go with the grain than a lot of men are. Men are more likely, you're more likely to get a couple of guys to just stand up and, you know,
Say fuck that.
you know,
It'd be like was it the Norman Rockwell painting?
that one guy standing up in the room, right? It's more likely to be a man.
Yeah, it's more likely to be a man to say, nah.
It'd be like, hey man,
This
hey,
is why I use this picture of Trump here, because Trump is kind of representing, like, you know, a man finally doing man things in the face of women screaming, and the women are screaming. They're all gathered up there in Minneapolis going ham right now. But like, that's really it's we're having a very male-female coded moment right now, and it's even more pertinent that this woman was shot. It's like, it looks like a white woman shot by a white man. Listen,
yeah.
man, white men, I need you guys to remember your recipes, okay? You guys got to remember your recipes.
I hit a woman for the first time in my life, and I'm having fun.
Yo, that's a wild clip, man. That is a wild clip.
Let that old guy have fun, man. Let that old guy live.
No, it's perfect though. It's perfect.
No, but Hood. Remember, I told you this before some time ago, that the biggest issue is white men's unwillingness to check their white women. That's really the heart of the problem.
Well, and also that I think that also extends into Black America. And this is the point I was making too. Like, because liberal white women get to be like the tip of the spear in a lot of ways, they get to also put Black women in front. You know, they use them as a shield for a lot of stuff. And it's a little bit of a back and forth, a Martin Bailey with the two. But they both serve the purpose of disempowering their own men, respectively.
I would say that the Black community is a matriarchy, and it's thus cooked. So, and it's 14% of the population. So, in terms of power, does the power really come from anything Black in this country? I don't think so. That's why I would say the white women or white men not checking their white women is more of an issue.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it's like a 1-2. It's really, look, you got the 1, but I think it's a 2 too, because my whole point is that it gives cover for the secondary things.
Yeah, like, so the Ferris types, man, like, they did a number on several communities, man, and to go from, like, you know, the highly married, you know, like, you know, dual parents, to whatever the hell's going on now, to where, like, what one of the states said, a kid can have like 3 parents. That's wild, man. So, like, you know, like,
man,
as long as the you know, the sample was given outside of you know, a freaking clinic, the child can have 3 parents, because whatever's going on and all this stuff, they still need a way to pay for it, and they realize the state doesn't have enough money.
Let me tell you, brother, if we talk about the Black community, I mean, 18% of the men have been making 80% of the babies now for hundreds of years, bro. This happened back in the days when we was in chains. They was doing that. I just think it's DNA related, man. That, you know, women tend to choose the biggest, strongest buck to procreate with, right? Some say it's natural selection. Some say it's just other factors involved with that when it comes to their level of attraction. But it's weird and a little strange, and we're the only culture of people who kind of does that stupid shit, right?
Well, some of it's natural selection, but because it's been like enculturated or whatever for like several decades, it's like on steroids now because now you select for like the most like worst traits. It's not even really survivability kind of thing now.
Yeah. And also, I think it's a little bit of the rat utopia thing going on where these
Yeah.
aren't really people operating in according to more natural inclinations, right? You're operating under very almost controlled, like a controlled environment type of thing where you have, welfare and
Yeah,
Section
there's
8.
no penalties, no consequences for bad
Right.
decisions.
A lot of penalties are removed for your bad behaviors and whatnot. So I think because all this sort of artificial addition has been, added to the environment, all this artificial involvement from the government, it's creating artificial outcomes, I guess is a better way to put it. And now people are just sort of modeling themselves toward that artificial world.
And a perfect like illustration for the no consequence kind of thing is okay. The game this weekend, the NFL game, Pittsburgh versus the freaking Baltimore. There was a chick in the stands, and I guess she didn't like something one of the guys was saying. I don't even know what he was saying, but he's rival team. She threw a drink on him, and then a dude started yelling at her, and then like all these dudes like jumped up, like, "Hey, that's a female. Yeah, she's wrong, but you can't be doing all this stuff, and you gotta chill, bro." But nobody said anything to her when she wouldn't go to her seat, and then she eventually threw the drink on the dude. And then like all of society or the dudes in this case, they're like all defending her honor, even though she has none.
I want to go back to the black community thing really quick. So with 18% making 80% of the babies now for hundreds of years, it's created this destabilized community, right? That became a matriarch because guess what? The women are stuck raising these kids because they didn't pair off like they should in relationships. They really, we talk about the incel dudes who are awkward relationships. There are a lot of women that are just like those dudes. The only difference is they got vagina, so they can get away with it, right? It's really weird.
Was the black community a matriarchy in those earlier Jim Crow years when the marriage rates were a lot higher and the church attendance was a lot higher?
No. Forced to pair off out of fear. You know what I'm saying? Fear is a real factor in a lot of, especially in the black community. Survival mode is a real thing, right?
Yes.
When people get into those survival modes and all that's taken away, all these first world type of amenities are taken away, people tend to pair off because at that point they have to, right? It's about surviving. You just can't get away with sleeping around and then just the system taking care of your kids.
So that was a pure survival mode as opposed to what these women talk about today, which is like artificial.
Exactly. This survival mode is very kind of diluted, right? Compared to the original survival mode in the 20s and 30s. That was survival mode because if you didn't have a man, if you didn't pair off, guess what? You were likely to be left because even the family members would disown women who wouldn't marry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because they were a burden to the family.
And guess what else happened? They also became 304s, aka high prime, what's the name, prostitute. We must not forget that dating is a new thing that started around the turn of the last century. You know what I'm saying?
It started in the 50s and 60s. That's when dating.
No. It started like in the 1920s. Actually, in the 1920s.
Yeah, because you had the flapper girls and all that.
Yep. See, the thing is about the whole flapper thing. See, the thing is, it wasn't so much about the flapper girls. It was a so-called, right. In older societies, as a woman in public, you had to be covered by a man. Not generally speaking, but you had to be covered because, hey, you wouldn't have no bank account, all the other stuff. So someone's going to have to pay for you. So if you was under the tutelage of your father, it wasn't your father, it would be your uncle. It wouldn't be your uncle, be your brother. It wouldn't be your brother, be your grandfather. The last person that will go ahead and basically vouch for you and say that you're a good woman is your pastor. And once they start getting away with that, this ain't nothing new. The 1920s, the flapper girls. There was this thing called like it was not city girls, but it was like comfort girls, because you had a whole mass of women that's doing the same thing they is now. Say they got degrees, they educated, they want to do this new progressive thing, even in the 1920s, and they felt like, you know what I'm saying, they had to go ahead and use prostitution methods to get the men that they want. It got to the point so bad that even prostitutes start getting mad at the regular women because they'll take all their customers away.
I mean, like, it's a race to the bottom. You see this now in California, where they decriminalize, like, them street walkers, but like they don't decriminalize it from John's perspective, which is weird. So it's like it should be all or nothing. And then what they done is crash the market, because, like, you know, the trying to get all the men out, or the pimps. Now it's less safe and nobody makes any money. And $20 is still $20.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the 20s and 30s, back then they had what you call sugar shacks too, right? Those were sort of prostitution rings back in those days, where not only black men would go there, but be a lot of white socialist guys that go there. You know, say knock off a bunch of black bras, right? Because those women were kicked out of the home. Now, as far as the dating part of it, right, like we were just talking about, yeah, it looks like that was created in 1896 by a guy named George Ade, an American columnist in Chicago, right? But it didn't become prominent until it looks like it says.
Wait. A Chicago nigga invented dating? I hate y'all. I swear to God, I hate
y'all.
y'all.
American columnist George Ade created in 1896. Yeah.
But all that stuff was, like, you know, the stepping stones to subvert. These people were, like, very calculated, and they had a, like, you know, like a 90 to 100 year vision
of destruction.
Yep.
I'm not even sure of that. I think they just lucked up and it just took hold, like a lot of popular fads do in society, right? Once those take hold, it's kind of like Christmas. Do you know why Santa Claus is red and black instead of green and white? Because he's from Europe. So he's actually a saint. Do you know why he's red and black instead of green and white?
Because of the mushroom.
Norman Rockwell painted a picture of the 1920s. It got out with Coke and it stuck. That's why you see Santa Claus.
Okay.
That's really simple.
Yeah, but
I thought it was due to the Themyscira mushroom.
I hate the black pill everybody about the holidays, but almost everything that we associate with our traditional American holiday was effectively a product of let's call
marketing.
it Madison Ave, to be polite.
Yeah, marketing.
It's deeper than that, but yeah, it's Madison Ave.
Yeah, but a lot of those original, like, you know, ideas and stuff like that, it wasn't just like, oh, culture like just mutated or whatever. No, like a lot of it was like nefarious, like straight up nefarious. Like
This
the
is what I
march,
mean.
like the march through the institutions.
But yeah, there's a lot of work that's been done on how to, like, psychologically manipulate the masses and whatnot. And television and media has been a great.
You mean what's his name? The cousin or brother of Sigmund Freud?
Edward Bernays.
Bernays. Yeah.
Lots of work. You know, they are cousins, right?
And the Columbia.
One big family. You ain't in it.
The Columbia Frankfurt School of critical theory that basically dominates all of academia now.
We got all that stuff when they got kicked out of Mustache Man.
Germany.
Well, no, not even that. It was actually from the Bolsheviks after the end of the First War. That's when they started to flood the rest of the world.
Yeah, but we didn't get them coming through the institutions like crazy up until like Mustache Man land.
Correct.
Like, kicked them out.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, they came to Columbia University. Herbert Marcuse, who taught, what's that chick name? Yeah, come on, Sutton Davis, Angela Davis. She was his professor, and just through all the NAACP and the Progressive Baptist Convention of Martin Luther King, as well as Livingston, the guy who wrote Martin Luther King's speech, was a communist.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He also was an atheist.
When you go back to like Booker T and W.E.B. Du Bois or whatever, that it was that as well. It was, Black Americanism, for lack of a better term, versus W.E.B. Du Bois, Eastern communism.
Hey,
He was a
but
communist. He was a socialist, whatever. And this
hey,
was way before any war.
hey, Hood. How does an atheist become a prominent speechwriter for a quote unquote pastor?
Oh well, yeah. He was basically an apostate. And shout out to Chad Jackson. He's kind of been really spot on with that. A long time ago, Stefan Molyneux was one of those guys who would give you like the rare scoop about a lot
For
of these
real.
historical figures. And now Chad
For
Jackson,
real.
he's kind of came along and gave us a lot of inside game about the Black civil rights movement. Because
And what's crazy,
Martin Luther King was not your traditional believing. He was essentially a non-believer in the
no, in fact, Martin Luther King wasn't even popular amongst black people in his time.
No.
Joseph H. Jackson, who was the actual president of the Southern Baptist Convention, was a lot more popular than he was, and was a fervent opponent of Martin Luther King. But of course, they don't talk about him.
Well, honestly, like it wasn't until his demise is where he became a martyr, and then it became like a Paul Bunyan type tall tale that like grew legs.
But my whole thing is like, I like to ask black people, what did Martin Luther King actually do?
Gentlemen, why are we going in on Martin Luther King? Can we stay with the modern dating concept, please, of what's going on now versus what happened 100 years ago?
No, but this is like laying the roots though for what's become now.
All these things kind of weave in and out of the story together, man.
For real.
Tell you the truth, brother. Whatever Martin Luther did back in his day, it benefited us to this day, right? Because we did get rights out of it. So at the end of the day, I don't want to.
We were integrating before like a lot of these things, and it was a more natural way. Forced integration actually did a disservice.
A lot of these white women got their momentum from the civil rights movement as well. Like a lot of what we're talking about right now does really tie to that era, for good or bad, for better or worse.
But the concept of it is stolen. What they did was manipulate the civil rights that occurred, which Trump is getting right, especially with the birthright citizenship piece of it. What they did was manipulate those particular rights to their advantage. That's what really happened. It was manipulation.
But if you're talking about those civil rights or whatever, the birthright citizenship was but way before then.
That was kind
of But I'm tying it all in together like you guys are. So I'm just making an example and just kind of adding it all in, right? With the civil rights, birthright citizenship, all that stuff. Those were originally our particular laws. They were intended for something totally different at that point in time than we actually use them for now in a lot of cases. A lot of it's manipulation for LGBTQ rights, women's rights, and rights for people who really shouldn't be here.
Well, hold on. And that is why figures like King get brought up in what you feel is a malicious way, because the argument is it was always intended to be that way.
Because the people that laid the groundwork, that were the lawyers and all this stuff, I don't think they were the most pure at heart folks. They intended for it to blow up. It was a Faustian deal to start with.
Wait. If you read the work of Herbert Marcuse, who said that the communist revolution in Europe failed because the white proletariat, actually started having their material conditions improved. So he wrote about saying that you have to give up on them and turn to other groups like gays, women, and black people. So they literally targeted black people just to create a wedge issue and to foment revolution amongst black people. And remember what revolution means. Revolution means destroying your life so that you have no choice but to revolt because your life is horrible. So when you have a communist show up to help you, you have to really understand that they're not there to help you. They're there to further their communist agenda.
Was it
benefit from it now? Do you benefit from it now?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case though.
Wait, hold on.
Great debate though. That's a great
point. Let me ask the question. When you say benefit, what do you mean?
Today's society, right? You're not oppressed anymore. Back in the 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, yeah, you were oppressed. Back then you might have been put on the chain cane for absolutely nothing. You couldn't look at a white woman. You couldn't talk to a white woman. You couldn't even go outside really unless you were going to work and going home. Because at that point in time, blacks weren't really welcome in this country at all. You had no rights, no freedoms. Only thing you had to do because you were fresh out of slavery, right?
Wait, was that everywhere in the country though?
Let him talk.
Let him wind it down. And Socrates, I know you're gonna jump in there.
You were,
Yes,
you
let me
were
talk.
fresh out of slavery less than 100 years earlier. I think it was 1870 something. We were let loose free, right? So blacks were still suffering from a lot of that Jim Crow era stuff versus slavery type mentalities in the South. You had the KKK around who were actually killing, hanging, lynching people at a high rate. Something had to be done. The man did something. And let's be honest. If our founders, I'm going to take this all the way around here. If the founders of the Constitution would have seen America now, do you think they would have put a lot of those constitutional rights in place, at least about stipulations? No. If Martin Luther could have seen what America did to his particular civil rights movement, you know, saying would he still be supportive of it? No. Saying no one could tell the future and how people do things, and people come up with all types of crap and manipulate, say all types of tools to get what they want out of the deal and to steal those things from you.
Well,
You know, the unfortunate thing is that blacks didn't keep pushing for their rights. Everyone else took what we built and started pushing for their rights.
Yeah, but
That's
the
real
Hold
tragedy.
on, hold on. Let me talk. Are you done?
That's good. That's good. That's good. Go ahead.
wait, look,
Okay.
real quick,
I-
Socrates, before you go. Like the big pushback though wasn't even his movement to begin with. Go ahead,
I'm
Socrates.
yeah, I was asking a question. So you're saying, I want to be clear for everyone here to be clear, to clarify something. You're saying that the gains that black people have in America today, that the civil rights movement or the movement by Martin Luther King was necessary and sufficient to bring it about. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I can name. Can you name me?
Okay, hold on. Now, if that's the case, how come you have civil rights in Canada, Australia, England, Germany, Switzerland, Norway? I can go on, and they did not have a civil rights movement led by a figure like Martin Luther King.
Because they adopted our policies. It's just really simple.
Whoa, wait,
America
hold
was
on.
leading
So,
the way,
wait.
and they're still leading the way.
Wait, so wait. If America is leading the way and they just adopt our policies, are they doing it now or was it just then?
It was actually now and then. Back after Martin Luther King
They
became
do.
basically
Mhm.
in civil rights, he was on national television. I think it was the Pope of Rome came down and spoke about it, which actually gave us rights in Italy, in which people don't even recognize, right? Because there were a lot of black oppression in Italy. Also, if you go to Spain, there was black oppression in Spain. It was all around the world where we were, as black Americans, we weren't welcome anywhere for a long time. And then countries adopted those particular policies and rights. And now you can walk the streets of any place in the world for the most part and not feel, you know, saying that oppression from the 30s and 40s. I mean, do you know what came with the civil rights movement? I mean, the Voting Rights Act in 1965. You know, say you're talking about public accommodations, equal employment, public education, all that stuff came from the civil rights movement. So, you know, say we talk about like, oh, it would have been a more of a natural. No, it wouldn't have been. Would have been you've been set back by 60 years right now. You've been yes a boss and no a boss and working in somebody's field.
No.
You know,
It was going to naturally do its thing anyway, just like segregation was gonna naturally like work itself out. It was gonna take a lot more time. But like to use this same logic though, like the Magna Carta was a precursor to the Constitution. So are we just stealing ideas? Like no. Like everything's a remake.
Yeah, but not only that, it's hard to falsify. It's hard to falsify what he's saying. He's saying that the civil rights movement was a global thing that started in America because there's no way to disprove that. How can I disprove that the civil rights was necessary if I can point to a country that didn't have a civil rights movement, but you said that country adopted our civil rights movement? So therefore, even in China, where there's Africans there in China working, stuff like that, if they do have some type of civil rights for these Africans, I guess the claim is going to be it's due to the civil rights movement from America. What
Yeah,
it seems
the
like,
framework
what is,
came from
go ahead.
us in most countries. The framework came from us. I mean, we're not even talking about due process and equal protection, which is reinforced by the 14th Amendment. But niggas was getting locked up and hanged.
Yeah, but you can't even say that.
I'm not sure if you're in a position to really prove that globally. But I think the thing is though, we know what bothers me about your argument right now, ADS. And let's take just the whole history of the civil rights off the table for a second. Right now in 2026, going forward, what you're arguing is effectively what the Democrat position for Black people is right now. We need them, otherwise there will be racism against us, right? And I think that's a fear point that kind of has locked black people in a certain position, I think we need to re-examine that. And once you start to re-examine that, it does sort of take you all the way back down the line towards the civil rights era itself.
I mean, that's how we got here. I mean, everything goes right back until what W.E.B. Du Bois was trying to do with the so-called socialist communist method that he taught us that was supposedly black culture, and which was passed down to MLK, and which was passed down to motherfucking Barack Obama. I mean, can we see the so-called corolarities with it?
Like, why in the world is a white atheist guy, speechwriter, and in certain people of the same ilk, lawyers and all this stuff, doing these things out of the quote unquote goodness of their heart and having to teach a black man how to speak to black people? Like certain figureheads that were in the civil rights movement had to go to a particular school to learn how to talk to black people that were taught by white folks. I'm sorry, like I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, okay, that's not suspicious. All my antenna go off like crazy when I start seeing some of these things and actually start like going through like the history. And I'm like, whoa, hold up, this don't make no sense. Say that again, Hood.
So you don't even own your NAACP.
Bro,
yeah,
bro.
I mean,
when was the first? When did it?
Clarence B. Jones wrote, I Have a Dream. That was a black man. Stanley Levinston is who you're talking about, right? Who was a ghostwriter.
Correct.
Yep.
A ghostwriter.
Oh, so the small hats. Yeah, small hats. Yeah, the small hats is the main one fighting for civil rights. Go figure.
Correct.
Yeah, but okay, old boy was an atheist. Why would a preacher need an atheist to like help him with his speeches?
Because MLK did not believe in Christianity. We forgot about that. He didn't even believe in the Bible, bro. It was one of them so-called proxy plants that was put right there to go ahead and game the people.
Because the black I grew up Catholic. Guess what Clarence B. Jones is? He's a Catholic. He was raised Catholic. So it's just weird to me. Hood is getting late. And these Metallica debates, brother, I'm good. Thank you for having me up.
Have a good night, brother.
No, not trying to attack him like that, but like we do have to analyze the ideas because like there's unspoken things that we just unnecessarily agree to that are the reason why we're in this mess, right?
Well, this is what I was saying. Once you start to kind of question backwards from where you are to how you got here, you have to go back to that era in time and start, turning over.
Hood, you ever heard of this guy named Philco? He used to be on YouTube and he was in Russia, a black dude from Brooklyn.
Philco. I'm vaguely familiar, but continue.
So I'm to believe that the reason he was able to go to Russia and have sex with a whole bunch of Russian women is because of Martin Luther King, as if Russia cares about civil rights in America. Like, I'm sorry, but I hear you, but in science, you need something called falsification, a way to test your hypothesis. How can I test that without Martin Luther King, we still would have had racial progress in America? How do you test that?
It's hard to test.
Because if I go to other countries, he's going to claim that those other countries got it from America. It's like, what?
So, yeah, but if you look at that time before the civil rights, racial progress was happening until forced integration, like forced it like too fast, basically.
Which it's
I'm aware.
Hold on. This is another great point. Just like, your contention is that civil rights kind of ruined an integration that was already happening. Right now, look at where we are now, where Barack Obama came along. And then we started having all these DEI, more diversity programs or whatever, started having more immigration and stuff like that. And it seemed like it now set back race relations to, a period, I don't know, maybe in the 70s or 60s or something. It's like we're going backwards in race relations because of, quote, progressivism.
Well, you have to understand, like, progressivism, I told you, is degeneracy. So once you buy into progressivism, you're going to get single parent households. You're going to get wayward women or wayward men. You get dysfunctionality. You get all that stuff. So the question is, how can you reach parity with less dysfunctional communities if your community buys into dysfunction? This is why
Yeah.
DEI and affirmative action will never work. Because if you ask any AI, whether it's Claude, whether it's Grok, whether it's open ChatGPT, if you ask all them the same thing, can the Black community reach parity while having broken families? And the answer is absolutely no. The answer is no. You will not outpace intact families as long as you have broken families, regardless of the program. Even if they gave you all the money, if they rebalance all the money in America, and they gave Black people, as they currently constituted, all the money, it would revert right back into the hands of the people that it currently have, because their communities are more stable. It's stability. If anyone knows about the market, right? It's the stock market. It goes up and down. What do you want to do? You want to lessen your risk by lessening volatility, ideally. What does that mean? That means you diversify. You're more stable. If you can't diversify and you're all into one stock that's very risky and it goes bust, you're done. That's what the Black community has. The Black community has a LeBron James, it has a Michael Jackson, it has a one shot, and if that one shot doesn't become the Messiah to save everyone, we're all doomed. You cannot compete like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't
You
even,
got a wicked jump shot.
hey, I wouldn't even point to Michael Jackson because that was a different time then. And as dysfunctional or as bad as Joe Jackson may have been, it was an intact family.
Sure. But I was trying to bring up Michael Jackson for his family dynamics. I was saying the idea that you're expecting, instead of having general, like when I hear about the Black struggle, what always frustrates me about it, they talk about exceptions. They talk about Harvard. They talk about Goldman Sachs. They talk about Ivy. I'm like, what are you talking about? How about they just read at their level? Basic, or the average. How about they just do math and reading at their level? How about they just have intact families? Before we start talking about why they not CEOs or why they don't have as much money as Bill Gates, how about just have communities where you don't get shot?
You know what? That's a whole other set of arguments and questions. It's funny. We were talking about woke white women, and we wound up talking about the Black culture thing. It's funny how these things are intimately linked somehow. You know.
I mean, like, what is it?
White America gets the cold, Black America gets the flu. You know, when white women get woke, Black women get retarded.
That's exactly where I was gonna go with the whole cold versus flu thing. Man, like, man, you get me, hood.
Hey man, we got to get up out of here though. It's getting late, y'all. I'm gonna try to get some sleep now. I gotta catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks for coming out. Shout out to Hammerhand, you sponsor of the show tonight. Big support. Appreciate you guys for coming through. But we're gonna wrap this one up. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. We are out of here, y'all.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't gonna help anybody. It's certainly not going to help Black people.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.